What's your view, and do you have a view about how we as an industry can perhaps persuade the naysayers on LTNs?
Yeah, so we've got we call them air quality zones rather than LTNs, and we've got one in place at the moment alongside various other things like school streets, and we're doing quite a lot of work around Barking Station that kicked off this month, also around traffic calming. And one of the things that there was quite a lot of sort of concern about LTNs and associated mechanisms within the borough as to how it would work. I mean, as we know, it's quite contentious, and we haven't closed any roads, and we've done things like installed cameras with vehicle plate recognition, and then automatic penalties, and we've closed off certain routes, but you can still get to places. There are other routes to go. Rather than kind of in other places. So I live in Lambeth, which, some of those LTNs have been very much kind of whacked in, and that's how it is. We've tried to have a bit of a softer approach to see how it goes. And one of the reasons for that is, my view is London is massively behind a lot of other countries, places and countries in terms of our cycling and walking networks. I'd say, Barking and Dagenham is probably a little bit behind where London is as a whole, and there's various reasons for that. One of them being, historic, I think, under investment in outer London public transport, so definitely suffered from that, etc., etc. And so we're starting from a low base. Like there's loads of research on this, but active travel within the borough is really poor. I think we're the poorest or the lowest borough of all London boroughs. We've got big problems with like child and adult obesity, etc., etc. So we're starting with a low base. So we were like, right, we need to get some support for these. So we're not necessarily going to be quite as dramatic as some of the other boroughs have been, and that's played off. The feedback that we've had so far, and they've only been in for a couple of months, around school streets, for example, from both councillors and schools and residents, has been super positive. And we're in the process of doing more formal questionnaires around that. But we've just got funding for the next kind of phase, and I think that's probably laid the groundwork for having much more support for that going in place and actually being sort of building that effect going forward.